Our next guest speaker is an expert when it comes to the public school system. Founder of For Kids and Country, Rebecca Friedrichs was a public school teacher for 28 years, teaching at the elementary school level. Rebecca was forced to fund state and national teachers' unions whose politics and divisive tactics degraded her profession, our schools, and our national character. Rebecca has been fighting the teachers' union head-on from her home state of California, where she resides with her husband and 2 sons. In 2016, she led the federal lawsuit Friedrichs v. California Teachers Association, which sought to free educators and all public sector employees from forced unionism. Poised to rule 5-4 in Rebecca's favor, the Supreme Court deadlocked after the sudden passing of Justice Scalia. However, Rebecca refused to be defeated and has continued her push towards the restoration of First Amendment rights of all teachers and government employees. Her organization, For Kids and Country, is a national movement of parents, teachers, students, faith leaders, and citizens uniting to restore our schools and culture. She is also the author of Standing Up to Goliath, previously mentioned as highlighting Kelly's story. Friedrichs has appeared in print, on radio, television, and local and national outlets such as CBS, Fox News, NBC, Fox Business Network, NPR, The Hill, the Orange County Register, and hosted a PragerU video on why the teachers' unions attack school choice. We are so thrilled to have Rebecca here with us today. Please join me in welcoming Rebecca Friedrichs.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am thrilled to be here, and I'm heartbroken about what happened to Kelly and her children. That should never happen anywhere, but especially not in America. Before I start today, I know that Dominique let our viewers know that the content today isn't suitable for children under 12. The content I'm about to share isn't suitable for any age. So if you have children who are viewing this right now, I would say truly under 18 shouldn't hear what I'm about to share. And sadly, I'm about to share what they're teaching in our public schools. So children are hearing this, 5, 6, 7, 11 years old, and it's not appropriate for me to even share it. Second thing I want to do this morning before I start is apologize to every gentleman who is in the room today or watching us online. I never dreamed in all my lifetime that I would ever share the kinds of things I'm going to share this morning. I never thought I'd talk about it alone, let alone in front of men. I've had to share these things in front of pastors, and I hope and pray that more pastors will learn the truth about what's going on in our public schools. What E. Ray Moore was sharing, I would love to get in front of every pastor in this country and let them know the truth and get their public school teachers in the room. If you're a Christian and you're in the public schools, you need to know what you're funding through your union, and that's what I'm about to teach you today. The scripture says that it's you'd be better off to have a millstone tied about your neck and thrown in the deepest sea than to cause one of his little ones to sin. Our public schools are leading our children into sin and actually making them vulnerable to sex predators. And that's what I'm about to share with you this morning. My presentation's long. I have a lot packed in, and so at some points I'll go really fast to try to help you to see all the information. So I'm going to start off just giving you some highlights about what I call SEXXX Ed, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. And our public schools are trying to fool people. They want you to think that the sex ed they're teaching is just biological information. That's a lie. Capital L, capital I, capital E. That's a lie. It is not just biological information. It is grooming. our children to be sexualized. So I'm going to start this morning, and again, I apologize, especially to the gentleman, with just some highlights of what is in the sex ed. People think this is just in California. Oh, no. It started there and in Oregon, but it has spread across the country. I've gotten complaints from parents in Texas, Tennessee, all over the country. Doesn't matter if you're a blue state or a red state. If you have a teachers union anywhere in your state, beware. This is happening. So in 2013, I received an email from a mother in Northern California. The title of the email was "The Latest Horror." And the horror that she described to me was a lesson that she was reading in the curriculum in her child's 5th grade classroom. It was her daughter. The curriculum was written by Planned Parenthood, so you can imagine. It's called Making Proud Choices. I've read the entire curriculum. It's shocking. Every page of it is shocking. But the lesson that this mother pointed out to me on this day was the condom relay races. I'm going to describe it to you because you need to know what children are being taught in public schools. By the way, disclaimer, a teacher like me would never teach this deplorable lesson or any other deplorable lesson. Loving teachers have been completely infiltrated. The teachers' union was infiltrated, and I'll teach you more about that as we go through the presentation. But please, please, they want us to hate teachers, just like they want us to hate the police. Don't hate teachers. Loving teachers would never do this, and they have no idea this is going on. And I'll help you to understand why in my presentation. So this lesson, the condom relay races, the teacher is told, break the children into 2 groups. Do not separate the children, boys and girls, because you're not allowed to assume anybody's gender anymore, so you have to teach everything in mixed company. So in mixed company, you mix the children into 2 groups for a relay race. In the condom relay races, the teacher is told that once she has the children in 2 teams, she is to set out 2 anatomically correct, fully erect adult male penis models and set them on the table in front of these little babies. Now she's told to tell the kids that they're each, the first child in each line gets a condom. They have to run to the penis models, and they have to put the condoms on the penis models, and they have to say every step in how to use these condoms. If they miss a step, this is what the curricula says. If they miss a step, they have to repeat the steps. I'm here to say, if I was an 11-year-old little girl and I had to do that, I never would have gotten married, ever. I'd have been mortified. And that is the goal, in my opinion, from what I've seen. So the first kids do this. They run back, slap the hand of the next kid comes. The entire classroom gets sexually abused by this lesson, and the teacher is told to say, make it a fun game. It's child abuse. Teachers in California and other states, I know them personally, have been trained that they have to teach children all of the approved methods for birth control. There are about 19 approved methods at this point that I know of. There might be more that I don't know about. My friends have been told that they have to teach little children, we're talking 11 and 12-year-olds, how to use a dental dam. A dental dam is for oral surgery. It's a piece of vinyl about this large. And our precious teachers are being told that they have to teach our adorable little children to place a dental dam between their mouth and their partner's vulva, vagina, or anus for oral on anal sex. It's not only child abuse, it's against your religion. The First Amendment in this country guarantees us freedom of religion. They're attacking it. Who's attacking it? The teachers' unions. They don't have the right to be called teachers' unions. They are Marxists posing as teachers' unions. I'll try not to give them the respect of saying teachers' unions. I might slip. They don't deserve the respect. They're also teaching our children that they should have anal sex. Why? You won't get pregnant that way. It's all about preventing pregnancy. It's not about meeting someone for a lifelong monogamous relationship called marriage and having children. It's about sleeping around with anybody, any sex, and doing anything that makes you feel good. And it's dangerous. The next thing they're doing is taking our children for abortions during the school day without parental knowledge or permission. It used to be from age 12. They're pushing for younger ages now. They're also pushing for younger ages of consent, sexual consent, and teaching our children about sexual consent. If you have an activist teacher, you're going to learn all this stuff. If you have a teacher like me who's protecting you, you're not going to learn all this stuff. But I'll show you in my slideshow how they get past teachers like me. So beware, even if you have a great teacher. You could be a preschooler now, and you'll be told, by the way, we teachers have been told not to call them boys and girls anymore, not to organize by pink and blue, not to do anything that assumes a gender, because, by the way, nobody knows their gender. None of you know your gender. We're all transgender, according to the teachers' unions and their allies. So we're now supposed to tell little children, when your parents had you, when you were born, they didn't know your gender. They just assigned you a gender, because there's really a huge spectrum of non-ending spectrum of genders, and you'll figure out your gender someday. What does that do? That attacks their very identity, because God said, I made them male and female. So now they don't even know their identity. I don't know if you know someone with identity issues. I do. People without identity issue, or with an identity issue, are lost. This is all sold as anti-bullying. Nobody wants to talk about LGBTQ, because if you do, you're a bigot, or you're a homophobe, or you're a transphobe. The teachers' unions wrote those messaging points. They write the messaging for the far left. And so now you're not allowed to say, but wait a minute, this is child abuse, to teach this to a little 5-year-old. Oh no, you're a homophobe. We need to be aware, whether we're Christians or not, we cannot allow little children to be abused in the name of protecting a special interest group. And we all know we would never bully anyone who is in the LGBTQ community, ever. So they sell it as anti-bullying to shut us all up, and also because when it's anti-bullying, now parents cannot opt out. So in California law, there's a lot of confusion. People don't know if they can opt out or not. Well, I'll tell you what you can opt out of, according to the law. You can opt out of the biological part, the part you probably wouldn't be offended by, but you can't opt out of anything about the gender identity. It can show up in any grade level, in any subject, in any classroom. If you have an activist teacher, quote teacher, an activist that's been placed there by the unions over the last several decades, look out. Your child's going to be targeted. If teachers refuse to teach this, according to California law, if a teacher is unqualified, I would be unqualified because I refuse to teach it, the experts are brought in. Who are the experts? Planned Parenthood. Many of our districts in California right now have contracts with Planned Parenthood, and they're just bringing them in to teach it. Why? Because teachers like me would never in a million years teach these deplorable lessons. So I am going to show you a slideshow, and I am going to use California as an example of what's going on. I live there. I'm an expert on it, so I won't make any mistakes. Just know this is going on nationwide. The teachers' unions work together with the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the CDC, all these different organizations to bring this into every public school in America. They would love to close down private schools and homeschooling and force all of our children into these indoctrination centers that they call public schools. They are not public schools. They are indoctrination centers. And COVID, as sad as I am that people are losing their businesses, that the people are suffering because of COVID, When I found out the schools were shut, I just said, thank you, God, for answering my prayers. Because we've been praying a long time that God would rescue our children and our loving teachers and families from public schools and legislators who won't listen. We've been out at the California State Capitol fighting against this for a couple years now. They won't listen to us. Why? Because we have a supermajority of Democrats that are controlled by the teachers' unions. That's evil. So is everything I already read. I'm going to say it, it's evil. I'll say it again, it's evil. If they want to send me to jail for that, like they did to Kelly, an innocent woman trying to protect her children, shame on them. But we can't be afraid to speak out. So, I'm going to tell you about the California Healthy Youth Act. Beware, they always call it healthy. Okay, if something comes to your state called the Healthy Youth Act, it's not healthy. They're pushing something called Comprehensive Sexuality Education, or CSE. That's what you want to be aware of. Here's my example. The bill sponsors in California for the California Healthy Youth Act were the ACLU of California. ACLU is corrupt. California Latinas for Reproductive Justice, a group called Forward Together, Equality California, and Planned Parenthood, affiliates of California. Here's what surprises most people: the coalition of supporters. California School Boards Association, California Teachers Association, and the California Parent Teachers Association, the PTA. We thought they were safe. They're not. If you're a parent on the PTA, don't get mad at me yet. I have a whole chapter in my book teaching you that in the 60s and 70s, the teachers at the state and national teachers associations bullied the PTA to such a degree that the PTA was forced to take a stance of neutrality. They now have to remain neutral to everything the teachers' unions do. That's why there's parents out at a strike. That's why parents can't do anything to stop the strikes. That's why the PTA supported child abuse. They didn't have any other choice. They were bullied into submission. Teachers' unions use mafia tactics to control people, as you heard through Kelly's story. Those were mafia tactics. If you're a teacher and you're listening and you're already mad at me, and maybe you're a local union rep, I was a local union rep for 3 years because I thought, none of my teacher friends agree with this nightmare. I'm going to fight this. I tried. I'm glad I did it because I got to see from the inside. I was bullied severely from the inside, as is every loving teacher who gets into the state or national levels of the unions and tries to make a difference. I have friends who served at the NEA who've been spit upon, who've been barred from being on any kind of a sex ed committee because they pushed back against this stuff. They've been booed off the stage or the platform for daring to speak out for what real teachers really believe and in protection of children. So the PTA is corrupt, folks. If you're at the local level, you're a great parent, you're wonderful. Your money's all going up to the corruption. Okay, so California Assembly member Shirley Nash Weber, now this is just an example from California, it's going on all over the nation. She was the sponsor of the California Healthy Youth Act, Comprehensive Sexuality Education. When it passed, it made CSE a mandate in California schools. Well, when you read CSE, it doesn't sound so bad unless you know communism speak and you can read through the lines and you realize this is a nightmare. But most people read it and go, it doesn't seem so bad. Well, CSE is now mandated in California and it's in many states. CSE is the gateway for the explicit sexual content I just shared with you and more that I'm about to share with you. Healthy Teen Network, after Shirley Nash Weber passed California Healthy Youth Act, Healthy Teen Network awarded her their 2018 Spirit of Service Award. I wanted you to know that because I'm about to share with you what Healthy Teen Network does, besides award legislators that do their bidding. Healthy Teen Network. They work with a coalition of over 180 reproductive health rights and justice organizations to bring, quote, Sex Ed for All Month. Sex Ed for All Month used to be called Teen Pregnancy Prevention Month. Well, it's not pregnancy prevention anymore. Now it's Sex Ed for All. They provide digital resources to young people. This is key because right now we're in virtual learning supposedly learning. Our children are safe away from the school with us as long as we are not letting them do virtual learning through the public school. So if your child's doing virtual learning today through a public school, beware. I'm about to show you what they could be learning. The goal of the Healthy Teen Network, by the way, you notice they call themselves Healthy again? The Healthy Teen Network. And they say teen, but it's available to any child. It's online. Their goal is by 2020, they will work in all 50 states, U.S. territories, and District of Columbia. This is 2020. They helped write professional sex ed learning standards with Planned Parenthood, and they trained sex educators. Just what is the Healthy Teen Network teaching our children via virtual learning today? Well, this is a lesson called 5 Tips for Your Sexual Health During COVID-19. It was written by this woman, Dorval Hall, who is a 2018 graduate in environmental studies, and she's supposedly a sex ed expert. You'll notice in that top cloud there, I took screenshots so you can see it's a much longer page. I urge you to go onto the Healthy Teen Network, which, by the way, is an unsecure website, which means they can more easily get information from your child. But if you look at that light blue cloud, it says sexting feels fun, but a lot of adults tell me that I am bad or risky if I do. Sexting? Sexting's dangerous too. It also brings people down. It allows people to use things against you. The pink one, how do we enjoy intimacy when we can't be together? I miss my partner. Okay, so during COVID-19, instead of being worried about children learning, the LA teachers unions fought for teachers to only have to teach 4 hours a day during COVID. Right now, they're saying they won't open schools unless we defund police and destroy charter schools, because that's their real agenda. At least they're starting to show it, and people are starting to see it. They've been doing this for decades. But while they're doing all of that, stopping our kids from learning, they're teaching them 5 tips for your sexual health during COVID-19. You will be shocked. Here's the 5. Number 1, sexting. Ella Dorval Hall tells our children they should be sexting. And then she gives them a link to 54 different ideas. I'll show you the highlights in just a minute. Second one, solo sex. They should be masturbating. She tells them, don't know how to masturbate? Click here, I'll teach you how. There are live links in each one of these parts of the lesson where the kids can go to shocking sites. I was afraid to open most of them because I don't want to all of a sudden be getting all this advertisement on my computer. I was blown away by what I saw. If you're a man, I suggest you not look at it. Have your wife do it for you and tell you. Number 3, pornography. She is specifically telling our children to look at pornography. She leads them to sites. Number 4, date yourself. Go on a date with yourself. You don't need a relationship, just date yourself. And number 5, go online and talk to sex ed experts. And I'm going to turn around so I can read it exactly. She tells you social media is full of sex experts who are sharing resources on mental health. That's a key term. It means one thing to us, it means another thing to them. Mental health, how to use sex toys, tips for dirty talk. And then she gives them right here 4 live links to sex experts online. So you're trying to protect your kids from perverts? Our schools are sending them to the perverts. So your kids go online to these folks, and I followed it. I was shocked. And the lessons these people are teaching are unbelievably disgusting. And all of them have up in their Twitter accounts and their pages that they are CSE experts, Comprehensive Sexuality Education Experts. CSE has been pushed through the United Nations for decades. People who fight against it, you'll find out in a minute what happens to them. Here's her 54 sexting ideas. So she leads the kids through a live link to this. This website's called O School. School. So kids are going to go there automatically. She sends them there. 54 sexting ideas you wouldn't have thought of. Poor English, poor grammar, number 1. They always have poor grammar, which tells you it's not really done by teachers. Okay, I'm just going to read a couple of these 54. I cried when I opened this page. Number 3, show your partner a place on your body that tingles for their touch. These are sexting ideas they're supposed to send to their lovers. Encourage your partner to try something entirely new in the bedroom. Notice it's always partner. It's not your wife. It's not your husband. Number 9, tell your partner how much you enjoy seeing their facial expression as they climax. Do you see that picture with the blue background? Handcuffs. And then when I went to the bottom of the page, I was speechless. I've underlined the part I want you to see. Asking your partner if they want to invite a third person into the bedroom may be totally sexy text if you've discussed a threesome before. Whether that relationship is a casual one-night stand or a long-term thing. They are teaching our children to sleep around, to do dangerous sexual behavior, to have anal sex, which we know leads to serious illness, and then tell them, oh, no problem, if you get AIDS, there's all these pills you can take. I've met people who have AIDS and take a cocktail of pills, and no, they don't feel good. This is a dangerous nightmare. So what other things are the Marxists posing as teachers' unions behind? I'm going to share with you some, let me go back just so you can see that. The National Education Association, every year they have an annual meeting, it's always the first week of July, and they pass new business items. I'm going to share some from 2017 and 2018. You can go on our website for kidsandcountry.org and just click on Union Politics, and I have the last 3 years of business items there in PDF form. You'd be shocked. Give yourself half an hour and do it, because you will be shocked at what these unions are behind. It would take me 10 days to share it all with you. All right, so one of the resolutions, B53, is on sex education. It's long, so I can't read the whole thing to you, but look at the highlighted part. Teachers and health professionals must be qualified to teach in this area and must be legally protected from censorship and lawsuits. Why? Because we all want to sue them and censor them, right? Why would they protect them from that? Why? Whoops. This is a little bit delayed. Sorry. Okay, the next one, I just want you to see the highlighted part. Well, I got to there we go. Note B, diversity of culture, diversity of sexual orientation, and gender identity. So the teachers' unions are behind all of that, all the genders. This is a screenshot, California Teachers Association page. You can find this on your own. They're bragging about being the ones who work together with the PTA, states it right on there, with the PTA, to bring transgender bathrooms into the state of California. Now, here's what's really shocking. Not only is it the transgender bathrooms, but this groundbreaking oh, by the way, this is 2013. This groundbreaking legislation will allow transgender students in public schools to participate fully in all school activities, sports teams, and programs that match their gender identity beginning January 1st. And then it goes on that they can use the locker rooms of their gender identity, and down here it tells us that the PTA and the California Teachers Association were behind it. I don't know one teacher or one parent who's okay with transgender bathrooms. Why? Because if a man comes into the restroom of a little girl, he might rape her. That's why. Let's be honest. I don't know one single solitary American that thinks it's okay for biological boys to dominate girls' sports. I was an athlete. My dad was a booster president, and always my coach. We fought and fought and fought for girls to have access to sports. Equal access. I always played on a field with grass and holes and everything, and the boys had a really nice field. I wasn't jealous. I just wanted a nice field. So we fought for it. And now what happens? The teachers' union, I was forced to fund my entire 28-year career. My husband was forced to fund for 42 years, uses my money to destroy the work that we did for girls. How dare they? How dare they? And then they say that we're transphobes for pushing against it. No, we're not. We're not transphobes. We love children. We care about girls. We want to protect girls. We don't want girls harmed. We don't want boys harmed either. It's not advancing for me. It might just be, thank you. This next slide always takes a while to load. Just so teachers will believe me, this is the cover of Educator magazine, California Educator. I was forced to fund this my entire career as well. This is a picture of a young lady who is a puzzle. Why is she a puzzle? Because she doesn't know her gender, and because there's an unlimited number of genders according to the teachers' unions and their friends. And so it says we're embracing the gender spectrum. And on this page, it tells us that we all have to use these new pronouns. You know, if I say you're a girl, but you don't want to be a girl, I could lose my job for calling you the wrong gender because you want to be a tree. And you can change your gender every day. I might not even be able to keep up with it, but I could be fired for not saying the right gender. Here's the heartbreaking thing. This is Lily. Lily's a biological boy. And they share Lily's story about how Lily is transitioning to become a girl. And the teachers union is telling all of us that we need to support this. And I would, of course, absolutely love and adore and protect that child, no matter what. But I am not going to participate in the fairy tale or hide from that child's parents that the child is transitioning into another sex, because they hide it from the parents too. We have kids in California who decide to transition to a different sex, and their parents find out on graduation day when the child announces it to the entire community. That's evil. They're undermining parents in a big way. When we go push back at the state legislature, we're bullied. We're bullied by Connie Leyva, who is the chairwoman of the Senate Education Committee, and by other Democrats who are pushing this agenda and totally ignoring California parents, claiming that we all love this. We don't. We don't, and neither do teachers. How do they get away with this? The NEA, this is a business item they adopted in 2017, and I think this is the most important one for anyone to know, because this is how they get away with not only the sex ed, but all the other stuff I'm about to share with you. They work in partnership with the Southern Poverty Law Center. This group understands that. Those online might not know about Southern Poverty. I'll explain that in just a minute. So they work in partnership with Southern Poverty Law Center, NAACP, which used to be a good organization but is now corrupt, ACLU, GELSON, which is Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, National Center for Trans Equality Human Rights Campaign. People think Human Rights Campaign is good. No, it's corrupt. Has a nice name, but it's not what it claims to be. Typical communism. They use a name that we think is something, but it means something else to them, and that's how they get away with it. And they say they're going to with the NEA, they're going to track incidences of discrimination, racism, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Semitism. That all sounds really nice. And they're going to educate and eradicate hate and give training on unconscious bias. So I'm going to start with the unconscious bias. Teacher like me, because I was born with white skin, we're forced into, and I've never gone through this personally because I left the classroom a few years ago, but many of my friends have. And we have teachers on camera giving their testimonies through tears. White teachers sitting in a teacher training, and they are told, you are white, you're a bigot. You can't help it, you'll be a bigot your whole life. You were born a bigot. You will always be a racist. It doesn't matter. If you're white, you're a racist. And they beat this into them and beat this into them. They have to take 6 trainings if they're part of something called Courageous Conversations, which is what's in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's an organization out of San Francisco. And if your school has adopted this training, which most schools have now, because under the Obama administration, and that's something I don't have time to go into today, but most schools adopted this new program of racial equity discipline policies. So they tell the teachers, any child in your class that has any color in his or her skin, if they are disobedient and they aren't doing a good job, it's your fault because you're white, because you have unconscious bias and you're being mean to that kid. These teachers are in a puddle on the floor. I taught in a school with 42 languages, last count. Immigrants from all over. I didn't notice color. I noticed human beings created in the image of God, and I loved every single one of them. How dare the teachers' unions call me a bigot or call any other teacher a bigot? And if they're listening, shame, shame, shame on those teachers' unions. They're destroying our country. They're destroying racial relations. They're causing the racial division. So they say they're going to educate and eradicate hate. What does that mean? Well, this is a Christian community, so you need to understand this better than anyone because you're the haters, according to the teachers' unions and their buddies. This is Southern Poverty Law Center's homepage. They used to have 954 hate groups when I took the screenshot. They now have over 1,000. Southern Poverty Law Center, working in partnership with the teachers' unions. If you go to the website, and I hope you will, go down to sort by all groups and you click on it, here's what you're going to discover. Almost all of the groups that are listed as hate groups are Christian, conservative, Republican, Catholic, Jewish. They're religious or conservative groups that are fighting for religious and conservative virtues and people. There are a few skinhead groups on there that are probably true haters. Don't believe me? Please go on and look at it. I today have time to only show you a few. These are some that are on the hate list today. Traditional Values Coalition, it's a Christian organization. Alliance Defending Freedom, they defended Masterpiece Cake Shop guy 3 times now. Alliance Defending Freedom is a nonprofit national group that defends Christians who are attacked. You probably know this guy served gay people all the time in his bake shop. He was asked to do a gay wedding. He said, that's, a marriage is a covenant between God. I can't do that because it's against my religion, but I will recommend this shop down the street to you. They sued him. You know why? They set him up. They did it on purpose. They do it in classrooms too. They put these kids in these classrooms with these parents who want to push this on everybody, and then they sue the teacher. It's on purpose. They have sued him 3 times now. Anyway, that's why they're on the hate list, because they dare to defend Christians who don't want to bake a cake for a gay wedding or do photography for a gay wedding. United Families International is an organization that has been lobbying at the United Nations for decades against comprehensive sexuality education, so they're on the hate list. Pacific Justice Institute, personal friend Brad Dacus in California, he defends Christians, so he's on there. The reason they put him on is because some parents found out that in their kindergarten class, the activist teacher read a book to the class about transgenderism, and then a little boy transitioned into a little girl right in front of his classmates. Parents didn't know about it. Parents didn't even say anything angry. They just said, I wanted to know about this. I didn't want my child to be a part of that. My child's confused. My little girl's now afraid she's going to turn into a boy. They're traumatizing our kids. So when someone defends those parents, they get put on the hate list. Conservative Republicans of Texas, American Family Association, they have about, I think, 300 Christian radio stations around the country. Dr. D. James Kennedy Ministries, San Diegans for Secure Borders, and the American Border Patrol are both on the hate list. I'll show you why at the end of the presentation, but the teachers' unions are the ones that are against having borders. They are for sanctuary cities. They're the reason that's being pushed. Nobody else wants it, just the teachers' unions and their friends. And this sounds like a really hateful group, the Pray in Jesus' Name Project. You dare to love Jesus? You're a hater to the teachers' unions. Are you a teacher funding the teachers' unions? And you believe in God? You're Jewish, you're Christian, you're Muslim? You are actually funding your own demise. This one was adopted that in 2017, that they will develop an online toolkit to assist communities and educators in combating the insidious hate speech, the actions of white supremacists, nationalists, and the so-called alt-right. Who is that? You. Me. They call us the alt-right. Okay, how did the SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, ACLU, and teachers' unions, and all these groups work together? I'm just going to show you some samples. This is from the California Teachers Association website. They created a social justice toolkit for students. It is shocking when you go through and look at the whole thing. Here's just some highlights. On this toolkit, a child can, in several places, click on live links that go directly to Southern Poverty Law Center. On those links, they can report their parents, their teacher, their classmate, as haters. Children can report people as haters. Anyone in the room read Orwell's 1984? This is communist propaganda. It's what they always do, get the children to turn on others and on their parents. So what do you have to do to be a hater? Well, you just saw the hate map. If you believe marriage is between a man and a woman and you say it, you're a hater. If you dare to say, oh, honey, there's only two genders. God made you male and female. You're a hater. If you dare to say, I don't want children being taught oral on anal sex in the classroom, you're a hater. So look out. You can be reported by a child. On this toolkit, I just wanted you to see a couple of the things on the toolkit. This is a page of the posters that I, as a teacher, can hang in my classroom, or a child can get for free. Well, paid for by my union dues. The union's very proud of this because the teachers' unions are the reason that the state of California is now the first state. When you go get your driver's license, which I just renewed mine, I witnessed it, you check male, female, or non-binary. We have 3 genders now in California. Non-binary means 1 of a million, not those other 2, 1 of a million. They're very proud of that because they pushed it. Resistance, okay, they're teaching teachers to do mass resistance with communist fist and everything. This is the one that concerns me the most. This poster says, we believe Black Lives Matter. Well, of course, every human life matters. But you know, you've been watching what's going on. They're not really for Black lives. They're Marxists. They've stated, Black Lives Matter Incorporated has stated we are trained Marxists. They're communists. They don't care about anybody. They're using Black lives to push communism. It says women's rights are human rights. Well, that means abortion. And no human is illegal. Open borders. Science is real. I'll show you later that the teachers' unions rewrote the scientific method. They are the ones behind all the fake science. Love is love. That's a pedophilia statement. And kindness is everything, which means the exact opposite of what it says. Anything the teachers' unions say sounds nice, means the opposite. Okay, now, how do they enforce these things? This is also an adopted business item. My pointer's not working. They are going to use their media to make a list of businesses and individuals who are committed to refusing services to same-sex couples. What do they do with this? They do it with Southern Poverty Law Center. Well, you already saw. They sue people. They put people out of business. They say, oh, you're a homophobe, you're a transphobe, and they put you out of business. The teachers' unions. Why are they involved in this? I thought they were just supposed to be defending teachers, getting us a break and getting us a raise. No, they haven't defended teachers in a long time. What else do? They are in opposition to conversion therapy and reparative therapy. So in other words, they don't want pastors to be able to talk to someone. If a person says, I have unwanted same-sex attraction, a pastor in California is not allowed to talk to him anymore. They're trying to make it illegal to counsel someone out of the homosexual lifestyle, even when the person wants out. And they're trying to make any book that says the homosexual lifestyle is a problem, they're trying to ban those books. Guess what book is loaded with that? The Holy Bible. They're trying to ban the Bible. How do they do all this? Well, they adopted in 2017 a new definition for the scientific method. So if you'll look at the part that I highlighted for you in yellow, the teachers' unions struck out those words in their adopted item. Then they underlined the new words they're going to use. I highlighted it for you in green, just so you can see it easily. What did they strike out of the scientific method? They struck out empirical evidence derived from valid scientific experimentation. Science, although inquiry-based, is verified through repetitive experimentation using the steps of the scientific process. Any scientist knows, even a kindergarten to 4th grade teacher like me knows, you have to use the scientific method. You practice over and 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 over until you find out something is true or not true, or a weak theory. Well, they changed it to scientific theory that incorporates empirically collected evidence, scientific methodology, and other accepted scientific processes. This entire process leads towards scientific consensus. Whose consensus? Not yours. If you're a Christian, you don't count. Only the consensus of the radical left. That's why we have children marching against climate change. The teachers' unions are behind those marches, by the way. Organize them, fund them, organize the kids, everything. That's why we have all these genders. That's why we have all this fake science, because the teachers' unions help push fake science in our schools. I have a teacher friend, St. Paul, Minnesota, who was told, you may not teach accurate science, and you must dumb down the science to the black students. I have her on camera stating that if anyone wants to challenge it. We have a movie coming out that we're working on. She'll be a part of that. Now, what happens to teachers like me inside the NEA, if we're union reps, or inside the state level, NEA's national level, and we push back? Well, I have a lot of friends like that who push back. And what happens? Well, NEA says we're not going to accept any exhibitors whose messaging is in conflict with Resolution B55, the one you just saw, changing the scientific method. If you dare to be in conflict, which my friends are, here's what they do to you. So I have friends who started an ex-gay educators caucus because they were concerned about you can't be ex-gay. According to the unions and their friends, you're born gay, you always stay gay, you can't be ex-gay. They bully ex-gays heavily. Well, I thought they were anti-bullying. But they bully me, they bully Kelly Williams-Bollar, they bully ex-gays, they bully everyone that doesn't land into their agenda. Shame on them, that's evil, and I'll say it every day of the week. If a pastor pastors, will you say it? We need our pastors to step up, not a 5'4" woman. 5'4" woman saying it. Come on, pastors. Come on. Creation Truths Outreach teachers created this, and they created creation science educators. Creation, that's God, right? Ex-gay, that's God redeeming your life. What happened to these teachers? Well, the NEA passed a resolution that in 2018, that these teachers, their information would be thoroughly reviewed and evaluated by the exhibitors for materials because their information is offensive, obscene, and in bad taste. That's what they think about you if you believe in God. If you dare to stand up for true science, you're offensive, obscene, and in bad taste. I thought they were teachers. I thought they were educators teaching the truth. Well, teachers like me are. The teachers union is liars. They're liars, and they use and abuse teachers like me. They take our money. They brutalize us using mafia tactics. Okay, I'm going to help you connect the dots, and I got to start moving fast now. Connect the dots. Agencies are controlled by corrupt unions. What agencies are controlled by corrupt unions? Almost all of them. Almost all of our government agencies at state and national levels are controlled by corrupt government unions. In my opinion, if you're a legislator listening today, we need to make government unions illegal. If we can get them out of all of our government agencies in our schools, we can fix all this overnight. They're a mess. They're a hot mess, as my Southern friends would say. Who's controlled by corrupt unions? The Library Association. That's why we have drag queen events in our libraries. The School Boards Association, the Department of Motor Vehicles, the VA. You wonder why so many of our wonderful veterans weren't being treated right for so long? Unions. The Post Office, state and national local departments of education, foster care. The highest number of children abused by sex trafficking are foster youth. Why? Who's in charge of them? And the Center for Disease Control. They're unionized. I'm here to tell you, we can't trust the CDC. This is off of the CDC website today. You can go find this today. So there we go. This is a PDF. It's I think it's 3 or 4 pages long. HIV and young men who have sex with men. They call them, for short, YMSM, young men having sex with men. I've read this entire PDF multiple times. Not once do they say, teachers, you need to report this as child abuse. I signed a document when I became a teacher that I would report child abuse, and pedophilia was on that list. Suddenly, pedophilia is okay. According to the CDC and the teachers' unions, they're pushing for 13-year-old boys to be in these groups up to 24 years old, and this PDF tells you about it, and I circled the section that I thought was the most important because it just, and I don't have time to read it to you now, but it makes it very clear that they are endorsing this, that they are saying we need to make our schools a safe place. Of course they need to be safe for every child, and you don't judge a child. But if you find out a 13-year-old boy is being abused by a 24-year-old man, that's child abuse. Suddenly they're claiming it's not. That's evil. We need to protect our children. The NEA brought Black Lives Matter Week of Action into our schools. They've been doing it for several years. No one was paying attention until the riots started. They adopted this business item that NEA will promote the Black Lives Matter Week of Action in schools, including hiring more counselors, not cops. Who's behind defunding the police? The teachers' unions. Black Lives Matters, just anyone who is believing Black Lives Matter, Incorporated, anyone who's believing that message, it's clever messaging, it's propaganda. No one's allowed to say that they're bad because then you're against blacks. Well, that's typical communism. No, we're not against blacks. We love everyone of every skin color. They're all made in the image of God. These folks say that we, on their page of what we believe, we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure. Why would the teachers' unions be involved with pushing something that disrupts the family? Because they're not teachers' unions. They're communists, Marxists, posing as teachers' unions. Here's the proof of the business item they passed and adopted: hiring more counselors, not cops; ending zero tolerance policies, replacing them with restorative justice. That sounds nice. Here's what it means. Our schools have become war zones. We're not allowed to discipline anymore. And I've been personally impacted in my classroom where I couldn't teach anymore because the discipline was so out of control. Because if a child had any color in the skin, the principal wasn't going to discipline them. And there's so many other details I could tell you, but my time's ticking away. All right, adopted. NEA will find way. Oh, I'm just showing you this so you'll just see that they're behind every problem in our. You name the problem, I can probably connect it to the teachers' union. Look at this one. They are for the removal of our skins, Braves, Indians, and Warriors mascots' names. I'm Native American. Doesn't bother me if you're called Redskins. I think it's kind of cool. But the Redskins just had to change their name, didn't they? Who's been pushing for that? The teachers' union. What does that have to do with defending me as a teacher? Look, you want to do that on your own time and your own dime? Great. Don't do it on my dime and tell people you're defending me. They are, this is an adopted business item, calling for a countywide and statewide moratoria on new charter school authorizations. They are against charter schools nationwide, as is the NAACP with the teachers' unions. Okay, so our American founders told us that there are two things necessary to keep a free republic. You must have a well-educated and moral citizenry. What do you have to do to destroy our republic? Destroy our educational system and our morality. That is what the Marxists posing as teachers' unions are doing. Are we doing well in our schools? Here's the latest NAEP scores. These just came out. Civics, geography, history, 15% passed. Tragedy. That's why we're going down. How much money do the teachers' unions collect? Well, in California, average dues are $1,000. They've gone up a lot. So I know teachers that pay $1,200, $1,300, but I'm just going to give a conservative average, $1,000. How are they split up? The state gets $737, the national gets $200. This is annual. The teachers at the local level get $63. I was a local level union rep. At the local level, the teachers are caring. They help each other. That's why they all like the union, because they think their local union's great. I was great. I did great things for them. Oh, we kept $63. The rest of it goes up to the state and national, where they use it for all the things I showed you and more. They have raised those dues. When our case was heard, you heard that Scalia died a month after our oral arguments, so then we ended up with a tie. Another case came after ours and won. In June 2018, all of a sudden, all of America, if you are a government employee, teacher, DMV, whatever you are, you no longer have to pay unions. They're still representing you, but you don't have to pay them. And you go to our website, forkidsandscountry.org, click on Freedoms and Protections, and learn how to opt out today and stop paying them, and I hope you will. But the unions, since the day that case passed, they have raised the dues on teachers 3 times. 3 times. And I told everybody, that's what they'll do. They won't lose any money. People opt out, they'll just raise the dues. That's why we need to make them illegal. We need to get them out. So, how much do they collect? Here's their membership. According to their websites, we have NEA and another one called AFT, which is the smaller of the 2 national teachers unions. Together, we have a total of 4.7 times $1,000 a year. That is $4.7 billion a year tax-free, just from teachers. Added up with DMV, cops, firefighters, VA, the list goes on. You're talking hundreds of billions of dollars a year, tax-free. And by the way, you, the taxpayer, collect it in paycheck deductions and hand it to them. Plus, they get millions of educators as coerced boots on the ground because they bully us if we don't do their bidding. Where does this money go? I pulled some slides today for time's sake. All of the money goes to far-left Democrat politics. I pulled those slides, but wanted you to see how much money the union leaders make, because a lot of times teachers, they won't get mad about everything else, but they'll get mad when they find out they're being ripped off in this way. These are 2013 numbers. NEA leadership, the president at that time was making $526,000 plus, and he had a housing allowance. The VP, who is now the president, was making $447 plus with a housing allowance. The secretary was making $454 with a housing allowance, and you can see all these numbers down. Okay, what was the average teacher making that same year? And by the way, teachers do make better money than you think, but that same year, I must have pulled that slide, teachers were making about $49,000 average. And those people were living off that. I think teachers in California were averaging $69,000. But these people who supposedly represent them, making $500,000. There are teachers today making a good salary. Don't let the unions lie to you. If I was in the classroom today working full-time with a master's degree and 28 years of experience, I'd be making $120,000 a year. That's working 9 months. Yes, I always worked in summers. Yes, I always worked over my vacations. I was always working because I was a hardworking teacher. Some of them aren't. It's a lie that they're not paid well. Cadillac benefits and a pension that's not funded and that's causing all kinds of trouble in our country. So it's not true that they're low paid. Every time the teachers' unions gather, they have protests. I was here for this one. I saw this with my own eyes. Here they are marching for sanctuary cities. There's my state right there. I pulled these off their website. I didn't take these pictures. They were bragging about these on their website. They want to abolish ICE. What breaks my heart the most is the way they teach our children to be crass and cruel and hateful and unpatriotic. This young lady has been taught to flip off the President of the United States. There's been lots of presidents while I was teacher that I didn't like. I never said one negative word about any of them. I taught my students to respect authority and respect the country, and respect our president, and to be patriotic. That's what real teachers do. Marxists posing as teachers unions teach little kids to flip people off and to picket against our president. This is NEA 2018 Representative Assembly meeting. They give an award every year, their highest award to a teacher, called the President's Award. This is Lily Esselstyn Garcia, the president. They gave their highest award not to a teacher like me, not to a teacher who has adopted students because their parents died. I know many teachers who do that. Adopt children and care for them. We wash kids' clothes, we feed them, we do everything. We love them. No, they gave the award to Colin Kaepernick, the NFL football player who leads the Take a Knee movement. How did the Take a Knee movement get so powerful from one rude, anti-American guy being disrespectful to our flag? Because he had the teachers' unions behind him, that's why, and other powerful organizations. Then, this was the president of the California Teachers Association at the time. They took a knee during the national anthem. In my name. And I'm here to say it. I don't care if there's a lot of people out there too afraid. I bow to one person, God. I bow to one person, God. I'm not bowing because somebody told me that I'm supposed to be disrespectful to my flag. I'm appreciative of this free country. I would never. I salute the flag. And more of us need to say that. This is David Hogg. He was the leader, the chosen leader of March for Our Lives. Parkland shooting in Florida. Children, of course, everyone was devastated. They wanted to do something. Well, so the children start gathering. What happened? The teachers' unions organized it. Meadow, maybe you've read Why Meadow Died. Meadow was one of the children slaughtered that day. Her father wrote a book, Why Meadow Died. Wrote it with Max Eden, education expert. I talked to them. Meadow's brother, okay, his sister was slaughtered. Meadow's brother wanted to speak at their first event because kids were allowed to speak, and he was going to eulogize his sister. The Hollywood producer that was in charge of the event that the kids supposedly set up, that it was grassroots supposedly, wouldn't accept his speech and wouldn't let him speak. You know why? Because he didn't speak again for gun control. He was eulogizing his sister. That's evil. You use little kids who just have their schools shot up to push your agenda. So what did the teachers' unions do? Their opening speaker was David Hogg, the leader of the March for Our Lives movement, a young man who says the F-bomb so many times my head spins. This is the leader of, sorry guys, this gal is one of the leaders of Red for Ed, the teacher strikes. She's quote unquote a teacher. I've never known a teacher in my life who flips people off. Who's behind #NotMyPresident? You guessed it, teachers unions and their friends. This is Dawn Thacker. Thank you, ladies, for flipping us off. I don't know one teacher, teachers are loving. And she says, hey, real Donald Trump, you suck. I don't know teachers who speak that way. What else do? They get kids to march for Black Lives Matter. They get kids to march against guns. They support people like Kamala Harris, who intervened against us in our case. They're behind Occupy Wall Street. They are behind the women in the pink hats, this disgusting movement that hates children. They get children out to picket for teacher strikes. That was in my town, that young lady. Are teachers really these radical leftists? According to the teacher union studies over 35 years, most teachers are conservative. They're trying to run all of us out and replace us with a bunch of radical leftists. So, in the old days, like when E. Ray Moore was talking about, when we had great education, we used to learn about Henry David Thoreau in part of our classical literature. Henry David Thoreau said, there are thousands hacking at the branches of evil to one who is striking at the root. We need to quit fighting all these branch issues and dig out the diseased root in this country. What is it? It's communism, Marxism, controlled by teachers' unions and all their billions and all their organizing and all the organizations connected to them. We need to dig out that diseased root. So, one way we can start, we started something called Adopt a Teacher. I have some flyers out in the other room. We explain it on our website. Basically, most teachers have no idea what I just told you. No idea. 90% of teachers think the union is their friend. They think the union's defending them. They think the union's getting them a raise. They think the they out there, the evil legislators, are causing all these problems and the union's defending them. They don't know the union put all those legislators in office and the union is controlling the puppet strings. The union is the guy behind the curtain. They don't know. That's your job to educate them. Adopt a Teacher. You can learn how to do that on our website. And I wrote a book, Standing Up to Goliath. Kelly's story's in it. There are about 4 dozen teacher testimonies in this book exposing the unions for a lot of things I just shared with you. Teachers don't want to believe it until they read it from another teacher. And you can go to our website, and we have all kinds of information there. Teach a teacher how to opt out of the union and stop paying them today. Information on the sex ed. We lead you to other organizations that know more than we do. The time is now, especially with COVID. Parents are finally awakening. They're finally realizing there's a problem in our public schools, and I think teachers are waking up too. But how are they going to know what to do if they don't know who's behind it? They don't realize. They're under deception. They have a veil over their eyes. We have to open their eyes. So that's my goal. If you have a church, invite me. Invite every teacher in your church. Don't be afraid. Invite them. Don't let the teachers' union control your church or our country or our kids anymore. Thanks for listening to me today.
There is nothing in this world more precious than a child. We treasure the immeasurable value and undeserved gift of children. God calls on all of us to protect the minds of our children from those who regard them as commodities. Marxist indoctrination, sex trafficking, and the enticement of the pop culture industry are crimes being committed against our children even as we speak. And that's why we are here. Would you join us in an effort to rescue them? Text the word rescuing to 50155 to donate any amount. Thank you.